Okay, guys. Well, I just got off work about an hour ago, and I'm in my Mrs. Roper nightgown, as you can see. It's the first thing I do when I get home. I got to put on my jammies and just unwind. I know after my 3 hour shift, but that's good for Uber. If I can get in a 3 hour shift, I'm doing good. And tonight was a good night. I had a good night. Thursday nights are usually good anyway, as far as making money, but tonight was especially nice because I went to drop off an order for it was for KFC, and there was another delivery driver there dropping off an order as well. And she's like, "Are you dropping off for this house?" And I was like, "Yeah." She says, "Well, so am I." I had KFC, she had Del Taco, and we just figured maybe the family couldn't agree on what to have for dinner. So anyway, we both took ours up to the door, and as we're walking away, she's like, "Are you with Uber or DoorDash or what?" And I said, "I'm with Uber." And she said, "Oh, me too." So next thing we know, we were walking out to our cars in the street, and we started chit chatting. And I'm not kidding. We sit out there chatting for like 20 minutes. Because it's kind of a lonely job. We don't have any coworkers, so when you run into somebody else that does this line of work, it's kind of fun to talk to them and find out what's going on, and where their hot spots are, and just that kind of stuff. But anyway, so we went out and stood by our cars, and we're chit chatting, and man, talked for 20 minutes, and I learned this lady's whole life story, which I like. I love listening to other people talk. I'm not very open, with strangers. I would never share my whole life like that, but I love it when other people do. I loved listening to her, and she was definitely interesting. And the thing that struck me, though, when I first saw her, is I I could tell she was about 80 years old, and I was right. She was 79, and she didn't look like she was in the best of shape. She was having a hard time walking, like her knees hurt or something. But she was doing it. She's carrying her bags and set them up there. And I was asking her why she was doing this. Obviously, at her age, I wouldn't think she'd be working, but she basically was saying that what'd she say? She's too old to work, but too poor to quit, something like that. Yeah, too old to work, too broke to quit. And so then she proceeded to tell me the reason why she was doing this. And I thought you guys might get a kick out of this. She turns out she had just moved to California about 2 years ago. She's from Kansas, I think she said. Her and her husband had lived there all their lives, and they both were blue collar workers. She didn't say exactly what they did, but they were getting older, and they were getting tired of the hard winters. And both their sons live in California, and they thought, you know what? They want to be near their boys because they didn't know how many years they had left. And it turned out that the husband passed away just last year. So they were only out here a year, and the husband passed. So the timing was good. It's good that they came when they did. But their boys had been out here for many years, and they had come out here to visit them, and they always enjoyed it. But they just really didn't think they could afford to live out here. But finally, she decided, you know what? We're just going to sell our house. It was paid for. They sold their house. They took the money from their house, and they were able to buy a mobile home out here. And with her social security and his, they were able to do pretty well, I guess. But once he passed away, it doesn't sound like he had any life insurance or anything, and she was just relying on one check. Probably, more now. I think you would get a bigger check, once one of your partners passes. So anyway, even though her one check was bigger, she's only getting one check. So before she didn't have to work. Now she said if she wanted anything over and above, rent, utilities, and food, she had to work. She had no choice. And so she was tickled to get on with Uber. She worked it every day. She worked it every day, and she even worked in the next city down, which is bigger. And she was telling me where to go there and what hours she worked. And she said she could make like $600 a week doing this. I was like, wow, that's pretty good money for doing Uber. And she said that, she was so thankful that they did come out here because the weather was better. a lot more expensive, but it's okay. She didn't need much. Like I said, she sold her house back there. She was able to pay cash for a mobile home. So her expenses are low, but at least she's near her boys. She kept calling her boys. Her boys are my age. I kept thinking these younger boys, but I mean, she's 79. So she had a 59-year-old son and a 61-year-old son. And she said, they had been out here, both her boys had been out here for years and years. So she knew what it was about. And like I said, she visited regularly. So she was glad to be out here. But I thought it was interesting to see somebody that age still out there hustling. And it made me worry about, will I be doing this at 80? Because her situation sounded pretty similar to mine. I mean, I have a house out here. The house that she sold back there she said they got like 130,000 for it, which I guess was good back where she came from. But, if I sold my house out here, I would end up doing the same thing. I would probably just buy a smaller home or mobile home, whatever, and it'll be me and my husband. And if one of us passes, we'll just have one check. And, basically the same scenario, not much different. I wasn't going to pry and ask her what her savings were, but the fact that she has to work tells me that there probably wasn't any savings. And that car that she was driving wasn't the best. It looks like it had some front end damage and she couldn't afford to get it fixed. I don't know what the situation was there, but just darling lady. She really was a pretty little lady, and very spry, 79, and she's still doing this. So I got to give her kudos for that. But I'm finding it more and more common when I go to pick up orders, and there's a line of other delivery drivers there. The vast majority of them are senior citizens doing this kind of work. So, yeah, even though it's not the greatest job in the world, it's good for seniors. And I think if my mom was still alive, she'd probably be doing this, knowing her, because she was a hard worker. She always worked until she couldn't. When she got cancer, she wasn't able to work anymore. But I always remember her working, always. And I think, like I said, she would probably still be doing this if she was alive too. I don't know if there's an age limit, if because they hire anybody that's, you got a vehicle and it's insured and you got a driver's license. And I've seen people doing this that looked older than her. So I don't know. I'm going to look that up. I'm curious now if there's an age limit um, to doing this kind of work. She said she kept talking about DoorDash and some card they have. She was asking if I liked it or whatever. And I had to keep reminding her I don't do DoorDash. I just do Uber. So I wasn't familiar with that. So maybe if any of you do DoorDash, I think she said something about a Crimson card or something like that. I'll have to look it up. I don't know. But yeah, she was just saying that she preferred doing Uber but she wanted to get on with Instacart. And I thought, wow, I don't know if that would be a good idea because, with this, we're just delivering like food orders. Sometimes it's just, a couple hamburgers and some French fries. But with Instacart, you're doing somebody's whole grocery shopping order. That's, it'd be a lot. And if they live in an apartment and you'd had to carry stuff up and down stairs, I don't know. That would be a desirable option for someone her age, but I wasn't going to tell her, if she felt like she could do it, then she probably could. But yeah, it really struck me when she said that she was too old to work and too broke to quit. I thought, yep, I think that's going to be a lot of people in this economy, and in the next few years, we're going to see more and more of that. So, well, I am getting tired, and I'm going to watch some of my favorite YouTubers, and then I'm going to go to bed. But I just wanted to check in with you guys, let you know what's going on. It was a good night. I'll post it here. Let me go on my phone and see what I made, and then I'll post it, let you guys know. But I know it was good. I did a lot of orders, and it's funny because a lot of times an order would come up and it would say like $23, and which is a lot. You don't get 23. They're anywhere from $3 to $7 to 10 or 11. So when it says 23, you jump on it. every time it turns out it's a double order, but you don't know that until you hit it. You know, it just shows the first part, and then you go and you pick it up, and then the next thing you know, it's sending you somewhere else. I'm like, dang it, I didn't know it was double order. But anyway, it don't matter. I'm actually getting to the point where I prefer those because, you make more money. So, and I got a couple of those. So anyway, I'll put that up so you guys can see how I'm doing, and I will let you guys go, and I will see you in the next video.